We can see the client name, and sometimes that's useful because you might be searching like we just did directly into the service and you'll need to find who it is. And now we get to the funding categories, and you'll certainly be able to select which one that is, and that will be appropriate to your center. Now here we have the problem type, and I mentioned a few things about it. I'm going to click on it, and it's a big walloping thing. Now some of you have different ways that you search for problem types, and we are very aware of that. Some of you use codes. If we click on any of these top boxes, it will sort by any of these. So now I've clicked code, and you'll see that it's sorted by the code. Some people just want to look at alphabetically by problem type. Sometimes it's by law type, and here's what we call map type, which is essentially at the top level of how the Attorney General's data standards sort these things. Sometimes that's quite handy to do as well. So for example, with Social Security, with these, that will actually cause the pop-up of Social Security related information to show in the page behind this. So I'll show you that in a second. So I've ticked that. You can have multiple problem types as well. So that's fine. You can select more than one. I'm going to click to select that. And now we can see down the bottom that this has actually got the Social Security based ones that have just popped up. Your center will also be able to create custom fields based on problem types that you guys use all the time if you want some extra custom fields there. And if they already exist in Silsys, you'll find that that all works across here. Marching through the rest of these essential ones, we've got problem law type. This is just a generic thing that we're trying to collect. Assigned to is the person who's currently handling this service, and it can be multiple people, especially useful if you've got, say, a supervisor and a more junior person. You can put them both on the assigned to, and they'll come up in all the lists. Created by, if it says system migration worker, it means in Silsys there wasn't anyone listed, but generally there will be, and that's basically who set this up. Quite often you'll find that's obviously created and assigned to the same person. Keywords is a good one. It's very much similar to keywords in clients as well, and essentially this is just a way to be able to search for things. So you're doing a say you're doing a project or something like that. Blue sky. So you're doing a project and you want to gather a bunch of services together and look at them later. If by tagging these, and it's just free text, and as you can see you can do multiple ones, you'll be able to search for, say, the keywords of blue sky, and then all the services that are tagged this will be able to be found rather quickly. Okay, related clients is here, and that relates to other clients in various ways, including whether an additional party and such. Related services I've mentioned here that were often clustered relating to, say, a matter ID. There also may be future reasons why you want to have services related. For example, you've got a legal advice and it's moved into a new representation service like a court tribunal, and you can link them using this system. Okay. We can also go and have a look at historical conflict information, and that will be displayed there. And now we're going to walk through service details. Most of this stuff comes up, but you'll be able to tell what's going on. A date of service, you could actually backdate if you need be. Mode of service delivery, you should remember that from Silsys. Here's where we put where the location of the service is. So if you've got an outreach service, this stuff should come in from your center, and you'll just be able to list it. Some of you also have multiple offices, so again, your admins will have to pre-fill that and have that ready so you can drop in there. This is an interpreter service used. There's another one on the client side that is interpreter or translator required. You can see that both are slightly different. So this is actually if you've used for this particular service. Okay, so sometimes referrals are involved, and they can even be in a legal advice situation where it's an advice that turns into a referral, etc. So where that happens, you will see the referral from information and referral to information, including all the type of referral and things like that, facilitated or simple. None of that should be too difficult. I'll come back to this. This was an example of custom data, and I'll walk back in a second with that. We've got some examples here of mandatory fields. Now, certainly some of these mandatory fields are going to be set up across all centers, and some of these mandatory fields will be set by your center. They want to make sure that we don't get things wrong or something along those lines. So whenever you see these exclamation marks, you'll need to make them something before you can save them. And all these ones, family violence indicator, homeless status, related, all those kinds of things, you'd be fairly used to from Silsys. And nothing there too difficult. Disability status, you can have multiple. and legal aid sometimes. Youth service we put across everything because anything could be related to youth if it's obviously a youth related inquiry. These are archive things. This is legacy information from CILSIS that we know some of you use. You have archive box number and the date that you've taken things out and put it into paper archiving, and so this was a way to carry on what was there in CILSIS and basically drag it across and continue to use it if you so wish. Similarly, this legacy information is from CILSIS as well, and you can do various things. Mainly, again, if it's marked in CILSIS, we didn't want to lose that information. And there's different ways of perhaps doing these kinds of things. For example, you could make a non-casework follow-up and you could put that now into a keyword, and that might be more effective for you, but it's up to you how to use that information. We've mentioned these custom fields that are attached to the problem type, but there's also other custom fields that your center can always make yourself if you wish to. This is a custom group and it's got a bunch of fields here. There's drop downs or just text or anything you need, and you'll be able to put in your own things and track things in your own way if you want to. Obviously that will take a little bit of time for your admins to get up to scratch and understand how to build those yourselves. It's not terribly complex to do once we have a bit of training. Okay, so across the top, additional parties are fairly obvious. If there's additional parties to this service, they'll be listed here as well as their conflict check information. We've got actions, which is one of the big ones. I'll come back to that. Critical dates is where you can just deal with a critical date only, and that'll be listed here. You can also see critical dates in actions. I will explain why in a moment. And then the service audit is not fully functional right now, but it will be soon. Essentially, if any of these details change, it'll be listed under service audit. The audit trail, you'll be able to see which user, as in which of you made the change and when, and what the change was in a brief way, so you can track back and see how things are done. Now, onto the final part, actions. And this is got 3 different types of things that I've mentioned. So I'm going to show you by doing a new action. And now we can see the options that we've got. The first and most important one is what kind of action type. And these can be added to quite simply. The 3 types of things are notes, for example, closing notes. We've got intake notes would happen from the intake procedure. They'll be dragged across to the service and attached. So you can create these and call them different things. So if you've got a long running case, you can just say search all the court attendances or critical issues, or just like the main notes, and you could print out all the notes to be able to take to court. And so that's going to be fairly useful, we hope. Also, we've got a bunch of different things like appointments, and when you have appointments, sometimes when you select these, different things come up. Now, I'll just go to appointments first. That's important. You've got due dates and things like that, and then you can come back here and mark when they're complete or tag them as critical, and then they'll be displayed here in your critical dates, or if they're been assigned to other people, they'll come up like that. That's for the notes and appointments and critical dates. There's the other one I just showed you briefly, which was court attendance. Now, this is quite different, and it has a bunch of different things that we need relating to what type, what sort of hearing it is, and indeed which kind of court and where. So there's a whole bunch of information there that we've pulled across partly from CILSIS, and this means we can track over time what's going on, and you can have multiple court attendances over time and then be able to track them all in your actions as you go, and they'll just all be listed and you'll be able to keep up with what is the critical one. So you can see that this is just for dates, and that'll pull dates out from all the rest of any kind of other actions like notes and things like that, because sometimes people just want to see the dates relating to a service rather quickly. So that's all we've got now, and we hope this video is useful.